I just felt like there was a lot of drool involved in my first kiss. Not on my part.
Of
On
course
his.
not. I didn't know where the nose was supposed to go. It was like a...
Just think about like clunking teeth, like you don't kind of got it, and your mouth is open too wide, and you're really going in there, like you're going to go to town.
Oh God, what if the person that I kissed watches this?
It was kind of everywhere, and I don't think anybody wants to read that. Hey all, it's Crystal.
And Felicity.
Today's video, I'm so excited. It is about writing the first kiss, the first meet, first love. I'm really excited for this one.
This topic was brought to us by one of our fellow Wattpad ambassadors and viewers, House of Mirrors. You can read her book called Bird in a Gilded Cage for free on Wattpad.
I'm ready just to dive in and get into the first that House of Mirrors wanted us to go over, which is the first kiss. We're going to talk on two different type of first kiss here. And the first one that we're going to talk about is just the overall first kiss between two characters that have never kissed before. In a romantic storyline, this is the pinnacle. This is the thing that every reader is waiting for, is that first kiss. And it's important that it be done right, that not only your characters feel a little steamy about this kiss, but your reader should feel like, yeah, that was satisfying. Like, what a great smooch. So here's the things that so that's why for me, I love a slow burn up to the first kiss. I draw it out. Go read one of my stories. How long does it take? 32 chapters to get to a first kiss. There's a reason for that, and that's because I love that sexual tension that's building and building and building, and then all of a sudden these two characters come together, they smooch it out, and all of that is like in that kiss. And that kiss can be done in two ways. It could be the slowest, most sweetest kiss that is just conveying everything they've wanted to say up to this point, or it could be really passionate and aggressive and it's conveying everything they wanted to say up to this point.
The other kind of first kiss is the very first kiss that a character has ever had. Not just the first one with their current boyfriend or girlfriend, but the first one ever. So when we planned this, we kind of went back and reminisced about our first kisses and how they were not so perfect. Dude that I kissed first, if you're watching this, it's totally not an insult to you. We had 2 years after that to perfect it, but the first one was not that great. You don't know what you're doing, so it's not realistic to have your character know what they're doing either. One thing you need to remember is that the character's thought processes do not need to go past that first kiss. You are in the moment of that first kiss. You're not ready to go on to those other things yet, so neither should your characters. The other thing to remember is that passionate, what they call tonsil hockey kisses, are not going to be appropriate for this moment. Usually a first kiss is probably going to be something sweet and short and nothing too over the top. It's more realistic to write about those moments where, you know, your teeth clink, like your nose is in the way, what do you do with the nose, all that kind of thing. It's way, way, way more realistic, and you know, you can also make it funny. Those kind of things work for a good funny moment too.
Having the kiss be overly passionate, getting some tongue action going in there. When you're dealing with young people and their very first kiss, it's not, you don't have your groove yet. You don't know those like little ways to slide it in there and make it sexy. It is like slobbery and gross, and your mouth is probably opened way too much. Like, it's just not a pretty picture if you're trying to keep it realistic. So I'm with you on this one. A sweet first kiss where maybe they get a little tiny taste, but they're timid and they back up. I think that that's really perfect, and it makes for a great first kiss that can still be looked at as realistic.
The next really big first that we like to write is the first love. But there are a couple things that you need to be careful about and be cognizant of when you're writing that first love. The first thing is the age of the characters. if you're writing the first love between a 15-year-old girl and 15-year-old boy, whatever, you need to take into account their maturity level. They're not going to be thinking about marriage. They're not going to be thinking about the future necessarily. They're thinking about that moment that they're in right then. They're not driving yet. Let's be really realistic about it. I mean, they depend upon their parents or their older brother or sister or whoever to get them where they need to go. Don't have them out on the town every Friday night by themselves. Not gonna happen. They're 14 and 15 years old. So you have to make sure that you keep those things in perspective. Also, I see a lot of stories where I literally look at it and say, where are these kids' parents? But for the most part, there's at least one parent or parental figure who is there. You need to, when you're writing a first love story, you need to at least mention those parents in there somewhere.
It's all about close proximity when you're dealing with the tweens. So school and the neighbor. I mean, you don't get a lot to play around with because it's just hard to meet up with somebody when you're 12, 13, 14 years old. Those are cute stories, but keeping them within a realistic realm. Also, money. Nobody's really going on any fancy dates in this story. What 13-year-old can take their girlfriend out to eat at, the steakhouse? Just not. It's not happening.
Yeah.
I think if you're really trying to write something that people are relating to keep those type of things in mind too when it comes to first love between young teens and tweens.
Another thing to keep in mind with first love is the level of emotion. Think back to your first love, and I guarantee you're thinking of this, like, I'm gonna love them forever and ever, and I'll never love anybody the way I love blah blah blah. That's kind of why we prefer, when we're writing our YA, for our characters to be 16 and above. But once you get up into the older teens, to me it's a lot easier to relate.
I think that it's so much more fun to write a story where the outlook is a little bit more mature. Just because it opens up a whole new spectrum of things and firsts and whatnot you can play with. The last thing you want to take into consideration when you are dealing with first-time lovers is that they're eventually going to need a break. If this is first love, you've got to have, I feel it's really important for a character to find who they are outside of the relationship. And when you are dealing with intense Romeo and Juliet type feelings, that makes it very difficult to find out who you are. The last thing we're going to touch base on is the first meet, specifically the meet cute. I think the important thing about a meet cute is that they have to be in an abnormal scene. So I would put them meeting in a unique place. When we were talking about this, we talked about airports would be really cute. Even it would be great on a vacation. Those kind of stories are really cute too, like a summer love kind of thing.
I think you could do some pretty unique things with school. Maybe it's because I'm there all the time. Or I used to be. I don't know. But I think I think you could do some cute things with school. One thing that I really think is good about a meet cute is the thought that nothing more is going to come of it. I like those kind. Where you run into somebody, it's not a big deal. You might, exchange pleasantries somewhere, or I don't know, drop something and they help you pick it up, whatever, and then you're like, all right, see ya. You're never going to see that person again. Who cares? But then they pop back up and you do see them again. Maybe they pop back up as your kid's teacher, or maybe they pop back up as your Uber driver or something. Like, that would be cute.
Yes. Yeah, I think that to go along with that is that second meeting kind of ends up being even accidental or forced too. So I think you can have like a first meeting that meet cute, and then have a second one on top of that, which is a little bit more awkward though. But the reader is really like engaged in it because they've met before and they had this moment where something was going on there, but they didn't get a chance to act upon it. And now here's this chance and they are going to be in the everyday life with them. Also, forced circumstances is nice. And what I mean by that is maybe the characters are going to rent a car, and this is the last car. They both need this car. And now they are coming to some kind of consensus on what we're going to do with the car. We're going to share the car. And you just could like kind of take that moment into something really fun and cute, where these people now have a little bit of tension because they both are needed the same thing, and both of them feel like what they're doing is super important. So I don't know, there's just a lot that you can do, but I would definitely look at unique ways of making sure that your meet cute works, just because it kind of goes back to you want to steer away from the mundane.
We hope that gives you a little insight into our favorite firsts and our thought process when we're writing them.
Remember that you can read our stories for free on Wattpad at Crystal and Felicity.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the little notification bell so that you don't miss another Friday video.
Thank you guys for watching. We hope you learned something about this first, and as always, write what you love.
Bye.